Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat Shalom,
which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. We know that the adversary was there in the beginning and understood what the plan for Yahweh's creation and his plan for man was. From the beginning, the adversary has tried to muddy the waters, and he has been muddying that water with confused information. Because if you give the people a lot of different avenues, they will feel bombarded with all of those avenues and just feel like there's no need of walking, period. And that has caused us a lot of issues to the point where we have so many different doctrines floating around. He said that he has given us this narrow path that leads to salvation. The issue with this narrow path is all of the different teachings that have floated about have really caused our people some issues. And the adversary doesn't care if he tricks you into serving him or if you serve him on purpose. It doesn't matter to him how he gets you off track. All that matters to him is that you are off track. And it could be the smallest thing that gets us off track. From the beginning, we have this tree that we were told not to eat from. The adversary, the devil, comes in with knowledge. This is that thing that we don't understand, that you can be destroyed with knowledge if that knowledge comes in the wrong context. What the adversary said was true. If you eat from this tree, you won't surely die. What they know of was death right then, and they didn't die right then. So what he said was right, but it was out of context because he knew what that knowledge was going to do coming out of order. And you can get knowledge, but get that knowledge in the wrong order or in the wrong context, and it will destroy you. Solomon was the wisest king that we ever had. Didn't do him any good, because with all of that wisdom, he still got off track. So it takes more than just knowledge and understanding to please Yahweh our Elohim. He's not having some kind of aptitude test for this. The aptitude test is in our heart, whether or not we are going to adhere in the spirit of things, not in the letter of things. But brother, would you read the oracles and entreat the angel that stands at the door to come in and sup with us and us with him, that we may make this a holy convocation by the angel's presence.
1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him, and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right. It is written that except a man be born again, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Elohim. It is also written that there is only one name under heaven by which men must be saved. The adversary, the devil, has distorted the narrow path that leads to salvation by offering us a pagan deity. This dilemma has been magnified by some groups who teach that if it's in the Bible, then that's the name we should use. We are told to study to show ourselves approved, but these groups will only acknowledge information that comes directly from the Bible itself. Their belief is that this doctrine cannot be disproven from the Bible. And we will go into these things so that we can see that the Bible does disprove the doctrines that are floating about. We're going to begin today in Genesis chapter 32. Genesis chapter 32, and we're going to read verses 24 through 30. See, the adversary knew that it would be a really, really great task to try and change every name in this Bible. That's too much of a job. But if you can change the ones that matter, and these are the things that they have consistently done to put their image and likeness. We can read in the Apocrypha, which of course they had pulled out of the Bible, that it says automatically the Gentiles came in and sought to put their likeness and image in the temple, because they come in and they realize, wow, Israel don't have no images. See, they come in and figure out, we ain't got no pictures on the wall. Oh! So then they start making their gods. They say, all right, well then put my cousin, put him right there, and put all of them under the faces of all the other people. And yeah, the people who living in that time, they'll know, man, that's your cousin. But what's gonna happen 2 generations from now? Then they're gonna say, oh no, that's the Messiah right there. Because see, that's 2 generations of lies that have happened. We have accepted a view of what the Messiah looked like, although we know that he lived during the time there were no photographs whatsoever. But walk out in the street with that little picture, that blue-eyed man with the long hair, and show it to any kid, and they don't go to church at all. Ask them who it is. They're going to say, Jesus? Nah, they know that. How they know that? They ain't went to nobody's church. How they know that? See, there's some things going on that we're not aware of. Genesis 32, and let's start that at verse 24.
And Yaakov was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day.
There wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. Of course, when we hear or know of angels, then all we see are these winged entities. Go ahead.
And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Yaakov's thigh was out of joint, as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaks. And he said, I will not let you go, except you bless me. And he said unto him, what is your name? And he said, Yaakov. And he said, your name shall be called no more Yaakov, but Israel. For as a prince have you power with Elohim and with men, and have prevailed.
Now, you have to pay attention to how this is done. And what happens is each and every time you have a name change, you have a statement under it. What this explains is that each one of these names have a definition. You shall no longer be called Yaakov. Your name shall be called Israel, for as a prince have you power with Elohim. So you got El. This is where you get Israel. This is prince of Elohim. So these names have definition. They mean something. See, the names we got here, these are slave names. These are the names that profess that our captors still rule over us. This is why it's the first thing that the Euro Gentiles wanted to change, because your name symbolizes certain things more than just what you are called by. So when he changes this name, you shall be known as Israel, for as a prince have you power with Elohim. This is the definition of Israel. And as we keep going, you're going to find there's more and more. Each time one of these names come, there's a definition that comes along with it. But when we try to look up Jesus, we can't find no definition for it. Go ahead.
Verse 29. And Yaakov asked him and said, Tell me, I pray you, your name. And he said, Wherefore is it that you does ask after my name? And he blessed him there.
And this is one of the things that I tell people why I have a problem with the book of Enoch. With all of the angels that people say, well, this angel talk and that angel talk. When you get down from the beginning, he is asking this angel his name. And the angel said, why you ask my name? That ain't none of your business what my name is. Because why? We know Israel. Israel will start worshiping anything. That's why he wouldn't tell him his name. Because he knew us. There ain't but certain angels that we can go through this book and verify what their name is. When you start reading the book of Enoch, man, they got everybody's name. It's all kind of names in this writing. And that's a problem, because even when the brazen serpent was made to heal them if they got bit by a serpent, a couple generations, what happened? Israel started worshiping the brazen serpent. So the angel already know. They don't need me telling you my name, because I know what you're going to do with it. Did you finish that?
Verse 30. And Yaakov called the name of that place Peniel, for I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved.
Now, your verification, verse 30. And Yaakov called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. If the angel had told him his name, what would he have named that place? Let's go to Genesis 33 and read verses 17 through 20.
And Yaakov journeyed to Succoth, and built him an house, and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth. And Yaakov came to Shalem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Paddan Aram, and pitched his tent before the city. And he bought a parcel of a field where he had spread his tent, at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar, and called it El Elohi Yisrael.
Right. So the very first thing set up is after the name of Israel. Yahweh is doing this for a reason. Understanding how the children of Israel react. The first altar, then after his spiritual encounter, is now El, which they have as God, Elohe Israel. So now we're talking, this is the God of Israel. And these things are put forth in order for a reason. Do you understand? We're not called Yahwehites. He says, my people that are called after my name. We're not called Yahwehites. We're called Israelites. It's the Son that set forth these things. Let's go to Exodus chapter 4. We're going to do a lot of flipping today, y'all. Because a lot of these places who want to get mass numbers, you get mass numbers by making everything comfortable for everybody. And one thing everybody like is that name, Jesus. You can go to your grandmama, boy, she like that name. She just melt when you say it. You just say, y'all know that one song that it ain't got but one lyric in it? Jesus. He said the same thing. Jesus, 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 Jesus. I was like, man, is he going to say something else? And he just keeps saying the same thing, but he said it different. Jesus, 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 Jesus. He keeps saying the same thing. It's 5 minutes of one word. And people love it. They love it. You could nowhere else could you write a song that's got one lyric in it. And the people say, yeah, we're going to publish it. Boy, if you don't get out of here, you ain't finna writing it. So I got one word, boss. You got one word? That's all you got? You got one word. One word. I'm telling you. Y'all think I'm lying. I'm telling you. It is 5 minutes of one word. That's how much we love this pagan deity. That this is all you got to say. Go ahead, bro. Exodus chapter 4, and let's read verses 21 through 23.
Verse 21. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, when you go to return into Egypt, see that you do all those wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in your hand. But I will harden his heart, that he shall not let the people go.
Right. After you've done something for so long, Yahweh won't let you repent. So at this point, it's not about Pharaoh being able to repent. Pharaoh has gotten all that he wanted to get out of Israel, and he's gotten all that he's going to get out of Israel. At this point, Yahweh is about making an example out of Pharaoh. So he's not going to let him repent. And I tell people this, when you get stuck in something for so long, people a lot of times will repent to try to get the punishment off of them. He's like, no. You ain't getting this punishment off of you. I'm going to drag this one out. You have taken your time. You have made merchandise of my people. You did everything you wanted to do. My turn. Go ahead.
Verse 22. And you shall say unto Pharaoh, thus said Yahweh, Israel is my son, even my firstborn.
That's who you were named after. You named after his firstborn son. And you have to learn how to carry that name. You can't do anything walking around talking about I'm an Israelite. They want to know why you got that pork chop hanging out your mouth. Go ahead.
And I say unto you, let my son go, that he may serve me. And if you refuse to let him go, behold, I will slay your son, even your firstborn.
Right. So now we understand Israel is my son, even my firstborn. So you understand what he was doing with Jacob, naming him after his son. Then this is why the punishment that came upon Pharaoh, I'm going to kill your firstborn. Because of the things that you have done to my firstborn. Why? Because Israel walks in that name and represents Israel in heaven. Israel is the only nation represented in heaven. There ain't no other nation represented in heaven. They can tell you all those other things they want to tell you. But at the end of the day, they got to come through you. But they're not coming through you just because you look some sort of way. No, you got to walk according to the things that are written. Then they have to come through you. Let's go to John chapter 3. And we understand then that whole statement of let us make man in our image. See, Yahweh is the CEO. The CEO don't do nothing. Somebody else do that. I tell his people work for a company for 20 years. They ain't never seen the CEO. That's why they can have that little show, Undercover Boss. Because 9 times out of 10, you ain't seen the owner at all. You see managers and supervisors. The owner of the company could be standing right beside you and you wouldn't know. All you know is that little signature that be on your check. That's all you know. So if the owner came and sat right beside you, you wouldn't know it. John chapter 3, and let's start that at verse 13.
And no man has ascended up to heaven, but he that came down from heaven, even the Son of Man which is in heaven.
Now, the most popular verse of all time is John 3:16. 3 verses up, no man has ascended up to heaven. Yet, the majority of all our families believe that everybody who has passed away in our family is in heaven looking down on us right now. And if you try to tell them that Big Mama ain't in heaven, you might get hit. You might want to brace yourself before you tell somebody that their Big Mama not in heaven. But this is what is written in this book. Because we know at the end of this book, it starts talking about judgment. How can somebody already be in heaven, even if there was a thing if man were going to heaven? How could that be there before judgment? We ain't had judgment yet. That makes no sense. Go ahead.
And as Moshe lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. For Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
So the Father has then set all of those things on the Son. So you have a lot of people dealing with back and forth how to deal with the name of Yahweh, how to say the name of Yahweh. Yahweh put all of that on the weight of the Son. So a lot of people are spending all their information and time worrying about the wrong thing. Go ahead.
For Elohim sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. He that believes on him is not condemned, but he that believes not is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of Elohim.
Because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of Elohim. See, this is where the adversary sees the opportunity. See? Now, this is where he sees the opportunity. Let's get in here and muddy these waters, and these people will be worshiping pagan deities and not know it. Let's go to Genesis chapter 17. Genesis 17, and let's read verses 1 through 7.
Genesis chapter 17 and verse 1. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am El Shaddai. Walk before me, and be you perfect. And I'll make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and Elohim talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations. Neither shall your name any more be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made you.
Once again, the exact same order that he followed before. He changed the name, then he gives you a definition of what that name means. Abram becomes Abraham. Abram and Abraham don't mean the same thing. See now, and what you're finding at spiritual enlightenment, at the point that they are entering in another direction in life, there's a new name given to them. Now, it says, unless a man be born again, he shall not enter into that kingdom. When you're born, you got a name. So the name you carry, is that the name of your old life or the name of the new? That old life don't get to walk in. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And I'll make you exceeding fruitful, and I'll make nations of you, and kings shall come out of you. And I'll establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you and their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be an Elohim unto you and to your seed after you.
Right. See, this new name has the direction that he is going to follow in his life. And what you also find about a name is that there's a spirit involved with that. Your name doesn't just, it's just not something that you are called by. It actually signifies your culture. This is why they went so hard to change Kunta Kinte to Toby. See, Kunta Kinte expressed his culture. Toby mean we under these Christians. You had to have a Christian name to be under the Christian. See, if they let you still have your name, then they have not completely conquered you yet. So your name signifies your culture. If we got a call right now and they said, there's a brother said he wants to meet you. Say, all right, what's his name? Abdul. What would you automatically think? Automatically. You ain't seen no picture. You ain't seen nothing. When I say Abdul, you ready to see the Muslim. Automatically. Because his name automatically sets forth his culture. Why do you think they wanted to change the major names in here? So you can automatically get a view in your head of what you thought those people look like. So we don't really understand the spiritual weight of how these things are done. Jump to did you finish verse 7?
Yeah.
Go to verse 15.
Genesis chapter 17 and verse 15. And Elohim said unto Abraham, As for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her, and give you a son also of her. Yes, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations.
She shall be a mother of nations. Sarah is princess. If he then is, you have Israel, this prince. Then you got the father of many nations. Now you have this princess. Her name follows the direction that Yahweh wants her to take. She can't have that old one. That's not the direction he wants her to take. Go ahead.
Kings of people shall be of her.
All right, let's go to Daniel chapter 1. Daniel chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 1 through 7.
899.
Daniel chapter 1 and verses 1 through 7.
In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Yehuda, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. And the Adonai gave Jehoiakim, king of Yehuda, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of Elohim, which he carried unto the land of Shinar, to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes.
Right, certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, because he wants to do a certain thing, and he needs certain of these people. This is your first affirmative action. Go ahead.
Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
Right. When they pick which one of us they gonna let to go to their schools, they want to know, can you speak the king's English? So you can't go to their Ivy League schools and they're using that Ebonics. So they want to know, hey man, you know how to speak correct English? All right, well we might be able to teach you something. Come on, we're gonna call it a scholarship. So you get to go to this school. And you got to leave Pook and them behind, just you. Come on. But once they get certain of them and teach them the king's language, that's going to help the other people follow suit. Same thing happened today. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat, and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king.
Right, our college is 4 years. Go ahead.
Now among these were of the children of Yehuda, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names. For he gave unto Daniel the name of Belteshazzar.
Right, this is what the heathen does. The names that they're going to give you is going to glorify their God. The names that are in verse 6, Daniel, we already seen. Israel, Elohim, Israel. So we already have the connection with El there. So you got Daniel, Mishael, but then you got Yahweh, Yah, you got Hananiah, and Azariah. These names then all glorify the Elohim of Israel. But that ain't gonna work for the heathen. See, the heathen said, no, you got to glorify my God. So I need your name to be representative of my God. That's why we call our legal name the slave name. So you talking to somebody now in the word, and you trying to send them something, you're like, bro, look, I can't send. I got to send you something. I need to know your slave name. What's your slave name? Because, I mean, we call each other by our spiritual names. Because here it is, they're made to take these names. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Man, they ain't calling each other that. That's what the heathen calling them. What I look like calling this brother Shadrach, I know that ain't his name. And that glorifies a pagan god. I know what God we worship. I'm going to call you by the name that glorifies Yahweh, my Elohim. Go ahead.
And to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael of Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego.
Now, jump to Daniel chapter 4, and we're going to hear the heathen tell you exactly why he changed it. Daniel chapter 4, let's read verses 1 through 8.
Verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar the king, unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high Elohim has wrought toward me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house, and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But at the last Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God.
According to what?
The name of my God.
Okay, so he changed his name so his name fits his God. That's the name they gave us. The names that fit they God. You ain't got to look very hard. But for every last name we got, there's a Euro-Gentile slave family who had that same name. That's where you got it from. You have the last name of the slave family who owned you. That is definitely a slave name. Go ahead.
And in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told the dream, saying.
Right. And do understand that as Israel is forced out of the daughter of Babylon, we cannot go back into our own land carrying all the things of our captivity, including those pagan names with us. Let's go to Isaiah. And Joseph had the same problem. They changed his name, what, Haphaneth Paneah? I think they used every letter that they could find in the Egyptian alphabet to make it. That thing got 24 letters in it, Jack. But it glorified the Egyptian rulership. So they know what they're doing. Isaiah 44, and we're going to read verses 1 through 5.
Verse 1.
We think it don't matter. Everybody else knows that it does. Isaiah 44, verse 1.
Yet now hear, O Yaakov my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus said the Yahweh that made you, and formed you from the womb, which will help you. Fear not, O Yaakov my servant, and you Yeshram, whom I have chosen. For I'll pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I'll pour my spirit upon your seed, and my blessing upon your offspring. And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the watercourses. One shall say, I am Yahweh's, and another shall call himself by the name of Yaakov, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto Yahweh, and surname himself by the name of Israel.
Now why would he have to surname himself by the name of Israel if we already had the name Israel? Yahweh knew that these heathens were going to make us change our name. Because we did not follow the dictates of the covenant. He said, these are the things that's going to happen to you. So then we end up being given names that glorify our captivity. And Yahweh said, you're going to have to surname yourself back to the name of Israel. We already had the name of Israel. So we ain't changing it. We're changing it back. This is what it was to start with. And we don't consider the power of a name change. If you go to court and you change your name, they'll ask you, are you doing this to defraud anybody? And you have to ask yourself, why they ask you that? That's because all them old D's is in that old name. Why you think when companies get sued, they change the name of the company? Because that's that other company. They ain't got nothing to do with us. What? What are you talking about? When Puff Daddy was in that club, him, J-Lo, that's when he lost J-Lo. He started singing songs. I need a girlfriend. He was all sad because J-Lo done left him. That when she went on and took her, put the blinker on and turned left. They was in the club. Somebody got stabbed or shot. Puff Daddy couldn't get no more shows. Now what happened? He said, hey man, it's a murderer with your crew. You can't be here no more. He said, all right, well, I'm changing my name to P. Diddy. All of a sudden, he was able to start doing shows. What happened? Puff Daddy with that other dude. See, we don't consider the legal ramifications of that. We think it's a joke. It's not a joke. All them bad deeds is on that other dude. See? I figured that I had to help change my name. I was like, no, I got some stuff back there. I got some stuff back there in that rearview mirror. I look back in that rearview mirror. I said, boy, some zombies in that rearview mirror. I got to get out of here. No, I ain't carrying that. That ain't nothing I want to carry across the Yahshua. Suck who all them zombies, right? I don't know who them is, bro. No, that stuff got to be taken care of. Everybody else understands that. But they want to make sure that we don't understand that. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy 28, and let's read verses 36 and 37.
Verse 36. Yahweh shall bring you and your king, which you shall set over you, unto a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known. And there shall you serve other gods, wood and stone. And you shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither Yahweh shall lead you.
Right. And you have these things. Yahweh shall bring you and your king that you shall set over you unto a nation that you nor your fathers have known. This is where we learn to serve the gods of wood and stone. And we know wood is that symbol of the cross. And we know the stone is the asteroid that they say fell from heaven, which is the holiest site in Islam. And the two biggest religions that our people follow today is Christianity and Islam. And now you have Hebrew Israelite cultures that are basically merging the two. You have a lot of Christian Israelite congregations that are merging Jesus into Hebrew Israelite culture, but then you also have Muslims who are doing the same. Farrakhan did this thing and wrote like 3-4 books and put them all out and told all the Muslims that they Israel, that they the true Jews. Me and a couple brothers went downtown the day he showed up. He already had the books written when he got there. Told all of them that y'all the true Jews. And then went right back to worshiping Allah. I said, man, that's a problem here. I don't know how you do that. They went right back, but now they some kind of Allah Jews. I don't know what that is. I don't know. It's like a cat dog. I cannot figure out what kind of animal that is. But that's what they're doing. Having this, but that's also part of the one world government to merge all the different parts of worship together. Because you can't effectively rule over people if everybody's divided into what it is they're doing. So if you can make all of it the same, this has been the power within the Christian foundation to start with, because they were able to merge all the gods that they worshiped before into Christianity. We just thought they were holidays. But those were gods that they already worshiped. That helped everybody jump on to that bandwagon, because they said, well, I get to keep doing what I was doing, even though it's called by another name. Let's go to Exodus chapter 3. Eli. Exodus chapter 3, and let's start that at verse 11.
And Moshe said unto Elohim, Who am I, that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? And he said, Certainly I'll be with you, and this shall be a token unto you that I have sent you. When you have brought forth the people out of Egypt, you shall serve Elohim upon this mountain. And Moshe said unto Elohim, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, The El of your fathers have sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them? And Elohim said unto Moshe, Yahweh. And he said, Thus shall you say unto the children of Israel, Yah has sent me unto you.
Yah have sent me unto you. So you have first the first part of I am that I am, but then he says, Thus shall you say unto the children of Israel, I am, the only part of that was given. And when you deal with that and you start looking at the names of these brothers in these books, all you got to do is look at the names of the prophets. And how many end in Yah? Yet you got some people that are out teaching, Yah is pagan. Yet we go to Psalm 68, it says he is extolled by his name, Yah. Then we even go into Revelation and all the angels are saying, Hallelujah, which means praise you, Yah. So the angels are saying it over and over and over and over in this book of Revelation. But this is how the adversary wants to muddy the waters. But even in dealing with Yah, there's still some things that the adversary is leading us off. Let's go to Exodus chapter 6. Now, it's one thing that I wanted to point out. This next graphic that is up there, y'all, that should be on the one that shows Exodus 34. This is a page from Study Bible, which is what we read out of. We read out of a King James Bible. It is a Schofield Study Bible. Now, if you look, we just got through reading Exodus 3 and verse 15, right? Now, this is the note on the Study Bible, but it's at Exodus 34. And right at the bottom, it says names of deity, and it's got Lord. Then right under there, Hebrew, YHWH. Now, it says that we have to study to show ourselves approved. A study Bible is what all preachers always had. So, if you think you're hearing something new, do understand, they've always known this. They just never told us. This is the Bible that they use. But look how it's even hidden in the book. If you read about I am that I am Yahweh at 3 and verse 15, why is the note at Exodus 34? Only those who really looking gonna see it. They didn't even put it there for the normal person. This note should be right after you read Exodus 3 and 15. You turn the page. Oh, there it is. No. You got to go from 3 to 34. How many chapters that in? You done forgot about the name by the time you get to chapter 34. They know what they're doing. So it's in there. But the question is, are you going to be looking at the point that it's put in there? Are you still going to have your eyes open? Let's go to Exodus chapter 6 and read verses 1 through 3.
Verse 1. Then Yahweh said unto Moshe, Now shall you see what I will do to Pharaoh. For with a strong hand shall he let them go, and with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. And Elohim spake unto Moshe, and said unto him, I am Yahweh, and I appeared unto Abraham, unto Esaac, and unto Jacob by the name of El Shaddai. But my name Yahweh was I not known to them.
Now, in verse 3, and I appeared unto Abraham and unto Esaac and unto Jacob. All these promises that he made, they still never knew the name of Yahweh. It says by the name of Elohim Almighty, which is El Shaddai. So, you understand then why the names in the earlier part of the book all end in El. Then he says, but by my name. Now, of course, how they come up with Jehovah, instead of YHWH, they then put JHVH and put the vowels in between and come up with Jehovah. So this is also a nice little trick of the adversary, because first of all, we know that there are no J's in Hebrew, and there wasn't any J's in the English language until 1630. So this name of Jesus wouldn't even be able to be said, nor Jehovah, until after 1630. That's 1630 years that neither one of those names could have ever been possible. 1 Corinthians chapter 8. First Corinthians chapter 8, and we're going to read verses 1 through 6.
First Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 1. Now as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffs up, but love edifies.
And it was knowledge that got us tore up in the first place. Go ahead.
And if any man thinks that he knows anything, he knows nothing yet as he ought to know. But if any man loves Elohim, the same is known of him. As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world, and that there is none other Elohim but one. For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, as there be gods many.
There be gods many. So people say his name is God, but there are gods many. So how can you tell the difference between your God if his name God, and then there's every other God, but your God don't have no name? But he just got the same title. That's like every last one of these women in here named Sharon. There's something wrong with that. So I just thought, so how did Sharon know I ain't talking to that Sharon? When I call Sharon, then all them Sharons turn around. There's going to be a problem there. Go ahead.
And lords many. But to us there is but one Elohim, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and our Adonai Yahshua the Mashiach, by whom are all things, and we by him. Howbeit there is not in every man that knowledge. For some with conscience of the idol, unto this hour eat it as a thing offered unto an idol, and their conscience being weak is defiled.
All right, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 6. Deuteronomy 6, and let's read verses 1 through 16.
Verse 1. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments, which Yahweh your Elohim commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land whether you go to possess it. That you might fear Yahweh your Elohim, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you, and your son and your son's sons, all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahweh El of your fathers has promised you, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim is one Yahweh. And you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes.
And this is the reason why they needed to take all of those things out of schools. They needed to take all of those things away from you being able to read them daily, because it's hard to push you into the rest of the paganism, and when you're constantly reading the things that tell you not to deal with the paganism. Go ahead.
And you shall write them upon the post of your house and on your gates. And it shall be, when Yahweh your Elohim shall have brought you into the land which he sware unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Esaac, and to Yaakov, to give you great and goodly cities, which you built not, and houses full of all good things, which you filled not, and wells dig, which you digged not, vineyards and olive trees, which you planted not, when you shall have eaten and be full. Then beware lest you forget Yahweh, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. You shall fear Yahweh your Elohim, and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after other gods, of the gods of the people which are round about you. For Yahweh your Elohim is a jealous Elohim among you, lest the anger of Yahweh your Elohim be kindled against you, and destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahweh your Elohim, as you tempted him in Mesa.
So it says Yahweh is a jealous Elohim. So if he's a jealous Elohim, and there be gods many, how can he just take the term God that ends up putting him right along with everybody else? Go ahead.
That was it. That was 16.
Read y'all don't have to go there. Read Exodus 34 for me. Exodus 34 and verse 14.
For you shall worship no other God, for Yahweh, whose name is jealous, is a jealous Elohim.
Yahweh, whose name is jealous, is a jealous Elohim. So if he will not give his glory unto another, then we automatically see then there has to be a separation that he's going to make between him and all of the false deities. Let's go to Exodus chapter 23. Exodus 23, and let's read verse 13.
Verse 13. And in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect, and make no mention of the name of other gods, neither let it be heard out of your mouth.
Right, and we know that they have named everything after their gods. Every last one of these days are named after their gods. They have all of these set up. We can't say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. These were things that we were supposed to do, not in mentioning those gods, but then of course we were also in our own land under our own rulership, not doing the things that we were supposed to do. Now we have to deal with things under the design of the adversary. So now we have the names of other gods constantly coming out of our mouth, because we know that Yahweh set up first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day. The Sabbath day was set apart. But you can't go around telling nobody, yeah, pay me on the first day. You ain't never gonna get paid. They don't know when that is. Yeah, I need to get paid on the fourth day. Fourth day of what? You gonna be the brokest cat in here. No, man, that ain't gonna work. So you're gonna have to pull out one of them pagan nights. Hey, I need my money on Wednesday, bro. Yeah, Wooten's day. Yeah, I need to pay me on Wooten. I'll meet you here at 6 o'clock on Wooten. How about that? And make sure you got my check with you. Make sure you got my check. Ah, that ain't gonna work. See? But that's also a part of this punishment. Not doing what we were supposed to do in our own land. Now We're having to constantly mention the other names of these pagan deities over and over. Go ahead.
That was it.
That was it. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 3. Well, y'all new people showed up on flipping day. Y'all getting that Bible smoking at it today. But when we get questions, and see, a lot of times what people believe when they set up certain things is they believe that you can't prove certain things from inside of this book. So I make sure that I show people, yes, you can. You can disprove those erroneous doctrines from this book. You just got to know where to go. Zechariah chapter 3. And we're going to do verses 1 through 8.
Verse 1. 966.
Who?
966.
Go ahead.
And he showed me Yahshua the high priest standing before the angel of Yahweh.
I'm sorry, what's his name?
Yahshua.
Say again?
Yahshua.
So it said Yahshua the high priest.
Mm-hmm.
See, there's some things here that you're going to end up seeing in how the adversary operates. See, they don't know to change all the names. And that's going to be your clue. That's why it says study to show yourself approved. Because no matter how hard the heathen try, he going to leave some openings. He not going to be able to take care of everything. And Yahweh going to make sure of it. So now you got, and he showed me Yahshua the high priest. Because even if they had dealt with the name that they make as Joshua, is really Yahshua. So this is their attempt to modernize that name. Go ahead.
And he showed me Yahshua the high priest standing before the angel of Yahweh, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him.
And we know that as soon as Yahshua got baptized and he got ready to go through his fasting, right? Who's standing there? Why don't you turn this stone into bread? Why don't you go ahead and turn this stone into bread? And you know, if you're hungry, the last place you need to be doing is hanging out by the bread. That's the last place you need to be standing. A brother don't need to be nowhere near no bread if he's trying to fast. So here go the adversary to the devil. Yahweh put it right in here. But if you don't know where to go, this stuff not making no sense. Yahshua the high priest. What are you talking about? Who is that? Go ahead.
Verse 2. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Yahweh rebuke you, O Satan. Even Yahweh that has chosen Jerusalem rebuke you.
Now, what did the Messiah end up saying? Think back to the conversation. Each time the adversary is doing what he normally does. He's saying the word, but he's saying the word out of context. So he says, all you got to do is bow down and worship me, and I'll give you everything. And Yahshua ends up putting those things back into context. He said, jump off, this building, this high place, because he has angels that's supposed to protect you. Say, you shall not tempt Yahweh your Elohim. Say, you shall worship none but Yahweh your Elohim. So these very things that we find here, we can go right in the New Testament and read where Yahshua and the adversary are going through these very things. So you jump from the Old Testament and go to the New Testament, and we'll find the very same things. But see, you got people that say you can't go in that Old Testament. Then we got Hebrews, though, that say you can't go in the New Testament. So you got confusion all over the place. But they don't do any sacrifices. But they say, the New Testament is a bunch of garbage. Now, they took some liberties in that New Testament and put some names and things in there. But we're going to show you that too. Go ahead.
Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? Verse 3. Now Yahshua was clothed with filthy garments and stood before the angel. And he answered and spake unto those that stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, Behold, I have caused your iniquity to pass from you, and I will clothe you with change of raiment. And I said, Let them set a fair mitre upon his head. So they set a fair mitre upon his head, and clothed him with garments.
Now, who wears a mitre on their head?
High priest.
High priest. Go ahead. Remember now they put the crown of thorns on his head, and they said, here's the King of Jews, and they was marking him. Yeah, it's in Old Testament. Go ahead.
And the angel of Yahweh stood by. And the angel of Yahweh protested unto Yahshua, saying, Thus said Yahweh of hosts, if you will walk in my ways, and if you will keep my charge, then you shall also judge my house, and shall also keep my courts, and I'll give you places to walk among these that stand by.
When you read about judgment, it says that when Yahweh shall judge the world by who? Yahshua. By his son. Okay, go ahead.
Hear now, O Yahshua the high priest, you and your fellows that sit before you, for they are men wondered at. For behold, I'll bring forth my servant the branch.
All right, keep going.
For behold, the stone that I have laid before Yahshua, upon one stone shall be 7 eyes. Behold, I will engrave the graving thereof, said Yahweh of hosts, and I will remove the iniquity of that land in one day. In that day, said Yahweh of hosts, shall you call every man his neighbor under the vine and under the fig tree.
All right, so let's figure out these 7 eyes. Let's go to Revelation chapter 5. See, these people done told you, you done came up with this name Yahshua. Where you get that from? It's all in this book. Because even when the adversary change it, Yahweh gonna always leave something for him to stumble on. Revelation chapter 5, and let's start that at verse 5.
And one of the elders says unto me, Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Yehudah, the root of David.
Right, the Messiah. He is called the son of David because it was the seed of David that was used to bring forth this body of Yahshua, the body that the spirit of Israel came to dwell in. Go ahead.
Has prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and on the four and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of Elohim sent forth into all the earth.
The 7 spirits, 7 eyes, which are 7 spirits of Elohim sent forth to go into all the earth. Go ahead.
And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne.
All right. So now let's go to Isaiah chapter 11. So we got these 7 spirits as it's talking about this Yahshua. Sister, have any seats in here, sweetie? You got seats open in here? I'm sorry? All right.
723.
Isaiah 11 and verse 1 through 6.
Verse 1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of Yahweh.
And in case you missed that count, that's 7. And there shall come forth the rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. Jesse was David's father. Yahshua is called the son of David, right? Okay. And the Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him. The Spirit of wisdom, understanding, Spirit of counsel, might, Spirit of knowledge, and of the fear of Yahweh. 7. So the very one that we talking about, these 7 eyes and the 7 spirits, we find, and it openly tells you his name is Yahshua. Then we talk about the Messiah, and it openly shows you the 7 spirits. They didn't know to change that name though. When they saw Yahshua, the high priest, they didn't know to change that one. Keep going.
Verse 3. And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yahweh. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears.
Okay, as we read in the New Testament, it was the Son that was going to come and make righteous judgment. All of this fits what's in the New Testament. Go ahead.
But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked.
Right. This is the Messiah on his second trip. See, the first trip, he was here to be slain and shed his blood to make atonement for the children of Israel. The second time, he ain't getting slayed. Ain't nobody touching him. All that blood that gonna be on him, that gonna be somebody else's blood. They ain't gonna get their hands nowhere near him on this second trip. So while they talking about God is love, he come here to kill people. He said, I got a slaughter to take care of. He came to make a sacrifice. What are men without law? Beasts. He came to sacrifice these beasts. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them.
So we know then that this is talking about the Mashiach. So we see these 7 spirits. Let's go to our Hebrews chapter 5. But see, you got people that want to gainsay those things so that they can keep that false deity of Jesus. So we're going to read in Hebrews 5, and we're going to see what they say about Christ. Hebrews 5, verses 1 through 10.
For every high priest taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to Elohim, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifice for sins. Who can have compassion on the ignorant and on them that are out of the way? For that he himself also is compassed with infirmity. And by reason hereof he ought, as for the people, so also for himself, to offer for sins. And no man takes this honor unto himself, but he that is called of Elohim, as was Aaron. So also the Mashiach glorified not himself to be made an high priest, but he that said unto him, You are my son, today have I begotten you.
So also the Mashiach glorified not himself to be made an high priest. So Christ a high priest. We already read Yahshua, show him the vision of Yahshua, the high priest, who has these 7 spirits. We read in Isaiah 11 that the Mashiach would have these spirits. Now we have in Hebrews where it's openly talking about the Messiah being a high priest. They didn't know to make the connection between Yahshua, the high priest, and to change that to Jesus. Go ahead.
Verse 6. As he says also in another place, You art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplications with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared, though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered, and being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him. Called of Elohim and high priest after the order of Melchizedek.
Called of Elohim and high priest after the order of Melchizedek. He's the only one that can do that. Because he's the only one who has a endless life. There's nobody else that can be a priest after the order of Melchizedek. This can't be anybody but the Mashiach. But they didn't know to change that name. See, when folks stay up all night trying to be slick, Yahweh always slicker. That's what that little hood term, ain't nothing slick to a can of oil. You go ahead, you be as slick as you need to be. You ain't gonna be that slick, Yahweh. You stay up all night. You ain't get a wink of sleep. Go ahead. He gonna leave one little drop. There you go. Oh man, you forgot that one. You forgot that one right there. Right, and that's the one he gonna lead his servants to. Let's go to Matthew chapter 1. But see, what happens is when you're in this word, people give you this unbelievable area to deal with. They want to make you prove what you believe in, and they want to give you the parameters by which you can prove it in. Prove what you're saying, but don't go in the Old Testament. Prove what you're saying, but don't go in the New Testament. They got these parameters that they want to give you. But I'm telling you, whatever the parameters, you can still win. Because they try to say, we can't prove. They said, well, this book say Jesus, so that's what we need to use. Watch this. Matthew chapter 1. Let's start this at verse 18.
Now the birth of Yahshua the Mashiach was on this wise.
Now it's that. Now look, it says Jesus, so that's what his name, that's what the book say, so that's what we're gonna use. Now we done already seen a couple things that they forgot to deal with, right? Let me show you a few more. Go ahead.
When as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man, and not willing to make a public example, was minded to put her away privily. But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of the Adonai appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, you son of David, fear not to take unto you Mary your wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost. And she shall bring forth a son, and you shall call his name Yahshua.
Right. So we talking about two Hebrews. Of course, Joseph is modernized. His name is Joseph. Mary is Miriam. And then, so you got Joseph and Miriam, and then they're going to pick a Latin name, Jesus. So you got two Hebrews who then going to have a Latin baby. See, people get that whole thing mixed up when they start talking Latino. Latin is European. Latin is what the Romans spoke. See, we get that thing a little twisted. This is their influence when you see Latin. Do understand, they didn't want the book written in anything but Latin because they didn't want none of you to be able to read it yourself. Go ahead.
You know, when you look at verse 20, he's referred to as the son of David. And you see even in his upbringing, his stepfather was of the lineage of David.
Right. So why would he turn around and give him a Latin name? I want to make sure of his heritage within the tribe of Yehuda. I'm going to make sure all of these things, but then you're going to tell me two Hebrews going to name their child a Latin name. Now, I need you to pay attention to the ESUS. All right? So that is the stamp of the heathen right there. Pow. So watch for the stamp of the heathen. We've been just watch it. Go ahead.
For he shall save his people from their sins.
Now, remember what we went through earlier. I wasn't going through stuff just be going through it. Abram, then Abraham had a meaning, right? Sarai, then Sarah. Yaakov, then Israel. Each time they told you the definition. Listen, verse 21. And she shall bring forth a son, and you shall call his name Yahshua, for he shall save his people from their sins. Sure salvation. See, Jesus don't mean that. First of all, it's Latin. How can a Latin word have a Hebrew definition? See, that's your clue. In all these other places, each one of these names have a definition. Then you get to this one. Wait a minute. Now, when I look up this, I can't get that definition. Well, because that's not the name that was there. So, we're getting closer. Let's go to Acts chapter 7.
You know, brother, even before we go along, if we go down to verse 23, they give you Emmanuel, and they give you the definition of it.
Right. And Emmanuel means Elohim be with us, right? Each time you got El in there that we can clearly go back to El Shaddai. We can find El, God. We can find a connection there. Where can we find ESUS? We can't find it in Elohim. We can't find it in Yahweh. We can't find that nowhere. Now, where ESUS come from? It connects to nothing. You can find Emmanuel. You can hear L in it. When you hear names like Zechariah, Yah, you hear Yah in it. Where's ESUS? How you gonna fit that into any of those names? It doesn't add up. Acts chapter 7. And let's start that at verse 33. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 33. Then said the Adonai to him, put off your shoes from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. I have seen the affliction of my people which is in Egypt, and I have heard their groaning, and am come down to deliver them. And now come, and I will send you into Egypt.
So, we're going back over Moshe being sent to deliver the children of Israel. So, we're replaying, or they're restating something that has already happened. Go ahead.
This Moshe whom they refuse, saying, who made you a ruler and a judge? The same did Elohim send to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the angel which appeared to him in the bush. He brought them out, after that he had showed them wonders and signs in the land of Egypt, and in the Red Sea, and in the wilderness 40 years. This is that Moshe, which said unto the children of Israel, a prophet shall the Adonai your Elohim raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall you hear.
Right, so this is talking about the Messiah. This is that Moshe which said unto the children of Israel, a prophet shall Yahweh your Elohim raise up unto you of your brethren. So he's going to come from Israel, like unto me. He had already said that Moshe was not a prophet like the rest of them. All the rest of them received their visions, their prophecy in dreams and visions. He said, not so with my servant Moshe, for I will speak to him face to face. Yahshua didn't get his direction by dreams and visions. See, this is that thing when you even go back and we start reading the things about the high priest. See, priests have a totally different job. And he had priests under him. The priests don't get to rest on the Sabbath. I can't come in here and just put my feet back. The Sabbath ain't no rest for me. I've been working for 2 days before we got here. Them graphics don't put themselves together. My whole family working. When Yahshua went to picking them things and started eating on the Sabbath, they had a problem with that. Hey, man, hey, what your servants doing picking that food? Man, priests profane the Sabbath and are held blameless. And what you think about all them people that working for him? They got to work too. This is a work day for priests. Get used to it. Because the children of Israel are called to be a kingdom of priests. So enjoy your little rest now. While you're resting. You're going to be a priest too, whether you like it or not. And women are married to priests. So if you don't get scared now. Then they got helpmeets. You don't just sit there while he working. Then he gonna need stuff while you working. He working at, babe, I need some such and such. What he told Sarah, go in there and make ready a kid. This angel done showed up. She can't be like, look, I was resting. What you talking about? No, that's your angel. That ain't got nothing to do with me. No. That's his helpmeet. What you think? Think he just needs somebody to help him make babies? No. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 38. This is he that was in the church in the wilderness with the angel which spake to him in the Mount Sinai.
Uh-huh.
And
what verse?
The end of verse 38.
Okay.
And with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us.
All right.
Verse 39. To whom our fathers would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back again into Egypt.
Right. They turned back again into Egypt. They wanted to see those same gods that they had gotten accustomed to. Go ahead.
Saying unto Aaron, make us gods to go before us. For as for this Moshe, which brought us out of the land of Egypt, we know not what has become of him.
Now, we're going through this step by step. He's talking about what the children of Israel have done, and we're talking about Moshe, and we know who was the next leader after Moshe. Joshua. whose real name is Yahshua. Go ahead.
And they made a calf in those days, and offered sacrifice unto the idol, and rejoiced in the works of their own hands. Then Elohim turned, and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as it is written in the book of the prophets. O you house of Israel, have you offered to me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness? Yes, you took up the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god Remphan.
Yep, that's when people walking around talking about they got the Star of David. That's the Star of Remphan, man. Get that out of here. Yo, this Star of David. Yahshua is the Star of David. Get that crap out of here, man. Trying to keep them idols. Go ahead.
Figures which you made to worship them, and I'll carry you away beyond Babylon. Our fathers had the tabernacle of witness in the wilderness, as he had appointed, speaking unto Moshe, that he should make it according to the fashion that he had seen.
Now, do you know why Yahshua was the real Star of David? Remember, there was a star that they thought was a star. Of course, it was an angel that moved and went everywhere and showed them where the baby was. Pow! And you ain't never seen no, you seen a moving star. It went one way. You ain't never seen no moving star just turn on 33rd Street. What kind of star was that? And your star went down the street and parked, it went to the drive-in, and it picked up. Well, what kind of star is that? Right. That's your real Star of David. Go ahead.
Acts chapter 7 and verse 45. Which also our fathers that came after brought in with Yahshua.
What? Which also our fathers, who's the next one after Moshe?
Yahshua.
See, but they got so happy with changing Joshua to Jesus, they went too far. So now they talking about Joshua, and they turns around and says, which also our fathers that came in after Moshe brought in with Jesus. Jesus wasn't in the wilderness. See? And then Slick took in all. They trying to be so slick. Y'all were like, go ahead, grease yourself up, put some more oil on you. Slick, go ahead, slick it on down. Yahweh still slicker. So now they talking about Joshua, and they done threw Jesus in there. So that automatically lets you know the correlation between the name of Joshua and Yahshua. Everywhere they seen Yahshua, they tried to change it and throw in Jesus, and they went too many times, because there's another one. Go ahead.
Into the possession of the Gentiles, whom Elohim drave out before the face of our fathers unto the days of Dawid.
All right, you finish that?
Yes.
Let's go to Hebrews chapter 4. See, people say you can't prove it from within this book. We can go outside this book and prove it, but we're going to do it in this book, since they say we can't do it from within the book. Hebrews 4 and verse 1 through 8. And the amazing part is people try to make you prove what you believe, but they don't think they have to prove what they believe. They put all the burden on you because they've been hearing their lies for so long. They said, you bringing that new stuff. No, this ain't new. You the one got the new stuff. This the stuff from old. Now this the old stuff I'm dealing with. This has been here. Hebrews chapter 4, and let's start that at verse 1.
Let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, and of you should seem to come short of it. For unto us was the gospel preached as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. For we which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. For he spake in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise, and Elohim did rest the seventh day from all his works.
Right. So they try to tell us that because the Messiah rose on the first day, that did away with the Sabbath. The Sabbath was set according to the creation of the earth. I ask people, are we still on earth? And all the people look at me strange when I ask them that question. What the Messiah rising on the first day have to do with the creation of the earth? Then on top of that, there's already a holy day for the day that the Messiah rose. It's called first fruits. He was raised as first fruits on the day of first fruit. Passover, the next day is unleavened bread. The next day after that is Feast of First Fruit. The third day. That was already set before the Mashiach got here. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest. Seeing therefore it remains that some must enter therein, and they to whom it was first preached entered not in because of unbelief. Again, he limits a certain day, saying, in thou weed, today, after so long a time, as it is said, today if you will hear his voice, harden not your hearts. For if Yahshua had given them rest, then would he not afterward have spoken of another day?
Now, if you got a study Bible, there's a little mark right there by Jesus, because it said, for if Jesus had given them rest. And then, if you follow that, it says, I. Go to the middle, and then it says, Joshua. So that's the second one where they went too far. Everywhere they saw Yahshua, they took it out and threw in Jesus. Here, it's talking about Joshua or Yahshua in the wilderness. They throw in Jesus. But people say, well, if it's written in the book, they correct their mistake. They know that it was a mistake later on. They didn't mean to make that one. They don't tell you about the rest of them. But they let you know there that they went too far in changing those names. See? And now, when you put Yahshua in all these other places, now the whole thing about Yahshua, the high priest, and all of these things, it starts to make sense. How far did you finish that?
Verse 8. That was the end of verse 8.
All right, let's go to Luke chapter 4. We're going to show you something else they did. Because see, what people like to say is, well, if it's in the book, that's what you ought to use. Well, when we go to Daniel, we find their real names and the false names in the book. Which one you going to use?
The false one.
Which one you going to use? You going to use the false one just because it's there? Well, it's in the Bible. Hellfire and damnation in this Bible. You going to jump in there too? There's horrors in this Bible. You going to celebrate? Huh? There's murderers in this Bible. You going to go kill some people? Luke chapter 4 and verses 22 through 27.
Verse 22. And all bare him witness, and wondered at the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth. And they said, is not this Joseph's son? And he said unto them, you will surely say unto me this proverb, physician, heal yourself. Whatsoever we have heard done in Capernaum, do also here in your country. And he said, verily I say unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country.
No prophet is accepted in his own country. They did not respect Yahshua in his own place. And this is why even people, you come into this word, the biggest battle you have is with your own family. Because they remind you of everything that you once did before. You wasn't all that holy when you shot up John them house. What was all your Bible then? All right? Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Holier than thou. Brother, please. Go ahead.
But I tell you of a truth, many widows were in Israel in the days of Elias.
In the day of Elias, who is Elijah, right? All right. Now we know about what they call it, Elijah. Now, who was after Elijah? Elisha. Elisha was the prophet who was after Elijah. Read.
When the heaven was shut up 3 years and 6 months, when great famine was throughout all the land. But unto none of them was Elias sent, save unto Sarepta, a city of Sidon, unto a woman that was a widow.
All right, now the next one is Elisha, who's after Elijah. Go ahead.
And many lepers were in Israel in the time of Eli Zeus.
Eli Zeus? But I told y'all, who is that EUS? That S? All right, here we go. They prop up. Go ahead.
The prophet. And none of them was cleansed, saving Naaman the Syrian.
All right, so your key part here is naming the Syrian then. Because we want to find out, who is Eli Zeus? We know the principal pagan god is Zeus, right? We know that. All right, so let's find out who it is Eli Zeus is. Let's go to 2 Kings chapter 5. So when people try to tell you, well, this is what you ought to do because it says, you know, that in the book, we're going to show you where they changed. 2 Kings chapter 5, and we're going to start that at verse 1. Eli Zeus. Boy, stop. Your Bible don't have Eli Zeus? What Bible you got there, Slave? What yours say over there? Elisha? You'll say Eli Zeus? Yeah, see, that's why I tell man, look, I don't want no Bible that had nothing changed. Give me the old King James version. I got the King James Study Bible. I don't need nothing that, you know, a lot of people have the books and it's already got Yahweh. And no. I know how to translate myself. I know when it say all capital L-O-R-D, I know that's Yahweh. When it's got one capital L-O-R-D, I know that's Yahshua. I know, don't leave me alone. Don't change nothing for me. See? Because when they get to changing, some of these new Bibles got all kind of things changed in it. No. Give me the old one. Give me the old one when y'all didn't know nobody was paying attention. Give me that one. Go ahead.
2 Kings chapter 5 and verse 1. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honorable, because by him Yahweh had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. And the Syrians had gone out by companies, and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid. And she waited on Naaman's wife. And she said unto her mistress, Would Elohim my master were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of his leprosy. And one went in and told his master, saying, Thus and thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel. And the king of Syria said, Go, and I'll send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of raiment. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, Now when this letter is come unto you, behold, I have therewith sent Naaman my servant to you, that you may recover him of his leprosy. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes and said, Am I Elohim, to kill and to make alive, that this man does send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeks a quarrel against me. And it was so, when Elisha...
Who?
Elisha.
So we didn't see who Eli Zeus is then, right? So they changed Elisha to Eli Zeus. Now you see how they got Jesus. See, the evidence is right here. You just got to know where to look. And people keep telling you, see, they give you these unbelievable parameters because they don't think you can do it. Well, just, it's in the book, brother. Yeah. I'll show you where it's in the book, what they did. I'll show you all the evidence that this what they do. Go ahead.
And it was so, when Elisha the man of Elohim had heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, Wherefore have you rent your clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall come again to you, and you shall be clean.
Right. So this whole thing that we read before, it was about the leper being cleansed, and this is constantly saying, Elisha. Y'all seen the Eli Zeus in here yet? Now this was the story they was referring to. So why we don't see Eli Zeus in here? How Eli Zeus pop up in the New Testament, but it's Elisha in the Old? Keep going.
But Naaman was angry, and went away, and said, Behold, I thought he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of Yahweh his Elohim, and strike his hand over the place and recover the leper. Are not Abana and Pharpar rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage.
All right. That's all we need to do right there. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 23. So we see that it is a tendency of the heathen to put their likeness, their image, and their names on the figures that they deem important within this holy story. So we see the same thing that they did with Yahshua. They did the same thing to Elisha. They figured he was one of the important ones, so they threw Zeus on the end of it. That's how they make you worship their pagan god. So they're going to keep Eli and then just throw Zeus on the end of it. See? So now you got a part god, part demon right there. You see how slick they are? And if you just keep reading, you read right past Eli Zeus. Jeremiah 23, and let's read verses 26 through 27.
How long shall this be in the heart of the prophets that prophesy lies? Yes, they are prophets of the deceit of their own heart.
They are prophets of the deceit of their own heart. Go ahead.
Which think to cause my people to forget my name by their dreams.
Which cause my people to forget my name. So we got Jewish people walking around saying his name is too holy to say. So we'll just say the name. Which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Saying that he says, you shall not use my name in vain. Which is the name. What kind of sense that make? He said, you must glorify my name. How I glorify your name if I can't say it? How it says publish you the name of Yahweh. How can I publish it if I can't say it? Go ahead.
By their dreams which they tell every man to his neighbor, as their fathers have forgotten my name for Baal.
And Baal is Lord. So when we understand why they gave us this title of Lord, and you find people over and over, oh Lord this, Lord that, that's Baal. That Baal worship is something that they had already been doing. So now they've given us their pagan deity, the title of their pagan deity, and we're calling on it thinking that we're going to receive some salvation. They know what they were doing when they put those things in there. You can also go in this study Bible, and it has a definition that shows you the 3 different connotations for Lord, where it tells you where all capitals originally said YHWH. And then the one capital LORD originally said Yahshua. Then where they have all lowercase LORD, that originally said Adonai or Master. So because people don't know the difference, they're seeing the same 4 letters, LORD, but because they don't look at whether it's caps or one cap, all caps or no caps, they're attributing the wrong entity. So they're putting the Messiah. This is why you never hear the people who go to Sunday church, you notice everything they say is, thank you, Jesus. Because they think he is everything. They don't separate the Father and the Son because they see the same term, Lord. So they think that it is one entity doing everything. In the beginning, it says, let us make man, not let me. They miss that part. So they never give thanks to the Father. They always give thanks to the Son. But that's because they see that same word. But if you got a study Bible, you go back, these people tell you, oh no, we substituted that. That was never there before. But if you don't get to that, you got a totally different thought process. You can read this whole book and have the wrong thought process from beginning to end if you don't understand that part of it. Because you're attributing these things to the wrong entity. Because if they're the same entity as that spirit at baptism, that spirit that descended and rested upon him in the bodily shape of a dove, do understand that Yahweh didn't say anything until he got that baptism. He got that baptism at 30 years old, according to the law. You got to be 30 years old to become a priest. Yahweh knew what he was doing. He wasn't just waiting to get his baptism. He couldn't just enter into the priesthood. You got to be 30 years old to be a priest. All right? So he's doing that. I got you. He's doing that. He gets this baptism. Then you hear, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. So now you got the Father talking about the Son that entered into that body. But he couldn't just do it any old kind of way. Because he was going to be a priest, he had to still follow the order of the priesthood. Go ahead, bro.
Was that the star that was that the wise man was following?
Yeah, the one that we were talking about that was moving and whatnot. Right. That was the star that was leading them to the child. Go ahead, brother. Where we at?
Luke.
Did you finish that?
Yeah, I was done with
Go to Luke chapter 23. Luke chapter 23. Luke chapter 23, and we're going to read verses 36 through 38.
verse 36. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him and offering him vinegar, and saying, if you be the king of the Yehudis, save yourself.
Now, understand this whole thing about putting the crown and mocking him and those things. Why he has to be the son of Dawid. You had a division in between the priesthood and the kingship. There was a separation between those two operations. With Yahshua, Yahweh was putting those two together. That's why he had to be the son of Dawid, which then made him the king. There is the crown. Now, then being a high priest, now you have these two jobs merged. Now you have a priest and a king. So that took a process. That's why the first go around, he couldn't come out and slay them. He's got to deal with the first part of being offered up, doing those things. But when he comes back and you start seeing these, it says crowns. You ever wonder why it says crowns? Why you got? What's with the more than one crown thing? Well, the high priest has a crown, remember? Then the king got a crown. But he's the king high priest. So he's coming here to do a job. He ain't asking nobody nothing. He's got authority. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 38. And a superscription also was written over him in letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew.
Greek, Latin, and Hebrew. Wasn't written in English. Greek, Latin, and Hebrew were these things written. Latin. Jesus is Latin. Understand that. You hear from the Latinos often have a brother named Jesus. Now y'all read it, y'all say, is Jesus Ramirez here? Jesus Ramirez. No, that's Jesus. Right. Glorifying Zeus. And they know how to say it. They don't walk around calling him Jesus, they call him Jesus. But he's also Latino. Latin. Go ahead.
This is the king of the Yehudis.
All right. Let's go to Acts chapter 4.
You know, even what you just said, you have to think about it. If Latin is older than English, how then did we start saying Jesus when it's actually Jesus?
Right. Because you look at that. They couldn't even get that J didn't come into the English language until 1630. So when you get the first King James Bible that was printed in English in 1611, that Bible says Jesus. I-E-S-U-S. Same thing they did to Elisha's name. That's what's in the first Bible printed in English. So when them people tell you, let's just do what's in the book, well, then that means you need to be dealing with Jesus then. Because that was the first one that was in the book. But they're not going to do that. Because that ain't what the song say. The song don't say it, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. See? They got to go by what the song say. See? You can't, it's hard to dance to Jesus. Jesus, Jesus. It don't, you can't dance right to it. See, it don't do it. See, but you can dance it. Jesus. See, you can dance to that. You can dance to that, but you can get your jig on. You can go all the way down the aisle and all the way back, Jack. That thing is dance worthy, bro. Right, dance right over into that lake of fire. Just go ahead. Go right on in there. Go ahead. Go ahead and twerk yourself right in there. Acts chapter 4, and let's start that at verse 1.
And as they spake unto the people, the priest and the captain of the temple and the Sadducees came upon them, being grieved that they taught the people and preached through Yahshua the resurrection from the dead. And they laid hands on them and put them in hold unto the next day, for it was now eventide. Howbeit many of them which heard the word believed, and the number of the men was about 5,000. And it came to pass on the morrow that their rulers and elders and scribes, and Annas the high priest, and Caiaphas, and Johanan, and Alexander, and as many as were of the kindred of the high priest, were gathered together at Jerusalem. And when they had set them in the midst, they asked, By what power or by what name have you done this?
By what name have you done this? See, people tell you it's power in the name. It sure is. Go ahead.
Then Cephas, filled with the Holy Ghost, said unto them, You rulers of the people and elders of Israel, if we this day be examined of the good deed done to the impotent man, by what means is he made whole, be it known unto you all, and to all the people of Israel, that by the name of Yahshua the Messiah of Nazareth, whom you crucified, whom Elohim raised from the dead, even by him does this man stand here before you whole. This is the stone which was set at naught of you builders, which has become the head of the corner. Neither is there salvation in any other.
Neither is there salvation in any other. Go ahead.
For there is none other name under heaven given among men, whereby we must be saved.
Right. So then the adversary said, look, I ain't got to change all the names. All I need to do is change this one. Because there's no other name under heaven by which we must be saved. So I just go ahead and alter this, and then I'm going to take care of the business. So now you got millions upon millions of people who are baptized in Zeus or Jesus. And they might well got baptized in the name of how to do it. It has absolutely no power whatsoever. Adversary slick. Adversary slick. So here it is. And most of these are people who have good intentions. They don't have any bad. They are actually trying to do what they think is right. But the slick pulpit pimps know that. And they know that they get a greater reward from their father, the adversary, the more people they can mislead. They know all of these things. The stuff that I'm saying, it might be new to you, but it ain't new to these people who have gone to seminary school. They've had a study Bible for years upon years. They've known all of this. They just decided they weren't going to tell us. Go ahead.
That was verse 12.
That was verse 12. Now, when we deal with this thing, like we know, there's no J in this in English until this around 1630. So we know that there's a real problem with offering this name being the one by which we must be saved. The history in it doesn't lead back long enough. I mean, and I tell people it's in the simplest terms. If somebody came up and said, you know, if some woman came in and said, Eli, my baby daddy. So, uh-oh, Eli, you're in trouble, man. that lady said, you know what I'm saying? This child yours. And he come to figure out. He said, well, how old that boy? Oh, he 39. Like, wait a minute, I'd have had the child when I was 5. That ain't gonna work. Right, the numbers don't add up. If they got this name, and this name don't date back 2000, we in 2017. So the name got to be able to date back to 2017 years ago. We get to 1630, we stop, we hit a brick wall. There's something wrong with the numbers there. And basically the things that they follow is basically the setup that was given to the same with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Go to pick number 32 that has the Jehovah's Witness book. Is that up there yet?
Yes.
All right. This Jehovah's Witness book that I found in somebody's attic. When you look at this is the book, the truth that leads to eternal life. Now this was before, of course, they knew that it was any Hebrews in town. This book is, they constantly revise the books. So this is one of their older ones. Now, as you look at what's on page 18 in their book, it says in the Hebrew language, in which the first 39 books of the Bible were written, God's name is represented thousands of times by 4 Hebrew letters, YHWH. Now this a Hebrew, this is the Jehovah's Witness telling you that what was originally there was Yahweh. But they keep going. Now, if you go down, and they even explain it, in ancient times, the Hebrew language was written without vowels, the reader supplying the vowels as he read the words. So the problem is, now this is them, that today we have no way of knowing exactly which vowels the Hebrews use along with the consonants YHWH. So they're admitting that YHWH was there. So before we read anything else, tell me how you get Jehovah out of that. Go ahead now, they already told you their own writing says it's YHWH. Tell me how you get the J out of Y. Come on now, come on. Hey, I'm sure some of y'all went to college. Come on now. Come on now, come on. We got some of that college education. Throw it at me. Come on. Show me how you get J out of Y. And they're admitting it in their own. This is why they had to stop that book right there. A lady got to my house. I let her talk. And then I pulled out the book. And when I showed it to her, she tried to take the book from me. I ain't want to have to bow the lady. You know what I'm saying? But I had to go ahead and shoot her one of them. I had to, hey, watch out, man. I got the book. She tried to snatch the book out of my hand. Because she was mesmerized. Here it is. I got a Jehovah's Witness at my door, but she ain't never seen this book. Why? Because as they realized, we put too much information out, they revised it and took this out. So here it is. She felt betrayed by her own leadership. Because here it is, you got me out here teaching, but you got a book that's got Yahweh in it. It's got even more in it. As you go down to where that second arrow is, well, I'm going to start up at that other part here. It says, most scholars think that the name was pronounced Yahweh. Now, they're telling you, most scholars, but the form Jehovah has been in use for many centuries. They didn't explain how they got to Jehovah. They just said, look, them said it. That's basically the scientific conclusion that they came up with. Them. That's it. They done told you YHWH. They told you all that, and then they just throw out Jehovah. Where it come from? How you get to Jehovah? Now, what they failed to mention is that they then changed YHWH to JHVH. Then they put the vowels in. Then they got to Jehovah. Now, isn't it very interesting that they left that part of the equation out? They just automatically jumped to, but everybody say Jehovah, bro. Yeah, so that's why. What? See, you got to still have some common sense when you read. You have to read this. Wait. How you jump from YHWH and you got Jehovah? And most scholars think it's Yahweh. But they said YHWH is somehow pronounced Jehovah. Now, we're going to keep reading. It said because there's uncertainty as to the exact pronunciation of God's personal name, some clergymen say you should not use it at all, but instead simply say God or Lord. See that trick? See that trick? See? Now, this book was what was the last print date on this book? Do you remember?
1980s.
No, because the first one was 67. See? So they didn't know that it was actually professing Hebrew Israelites, people who was dealing with Messianic Judaism, they didn't know that, so they was putting too much information in it. Go get one of these books today. You ain't gonna find none of this in it. See, Yahweh made me find that book in that attic. I'm sitting there in somebody's attic, and I'm sweating to death in the attic. When it's 90 degrees outside, it's like 130 in the attic. So I'm sweating, sweat rolling all down in my eyes, it's stinging. I'm sitting there reading the book. Because I'm amazed at how in the world I end up finding this book. I ain't find it. Yahweh gave it to me. Then to come to find out is I come down out the attic. I tell the lady about the book. You know, Lucifer messing with my mind. Just take the book. I'm like, no, man, I can't take the book. Just take the book. I asked the lady, ma'am, I found this book in your attic. She said, oh, you're a Jehovah's Witness? I said, no. She said, me either. I said, what? She said, you want that book? I said, yes, ma'am, I do. But you see how the devil play with you? Go and take it, boy. Go and take it. You can take that book. It'll be for holiness. Right. So I'll be stealing in the name of holiness. You see how slick he is? Boy, he's slick. And then once I get caught stealing, he gonna leave me. Yahweh, you saw stealing down there, then you saw him? Oh yeah, that's how he do you. That's how he do you. Then he leave you to deal with it all by yourself. All right. Now, it says, however, they do not insist that you should not use the name Jesus and Jeremiah, and yet these commonly used pronunciations are quite different from the Hebrew pronunciations. Yahshua and Jeremiah. This is their book. So you understand why that Jehovah's Witness later wanted to fight me at that door. Because it's one thing to tell somebody something. It's something altogether different to show it to them out of their book. And keep in mind, she ain't never seen the 1967 version of this book now. Because they realized that they put too much. They revised it. They took it out. But that one thing my mom told me a long time ago, be careful what you say or you put it in writing, baby. They can always go back to that. That's why I be telling all y'all this little texting generation that y'all like to text and post everything. I'm in the bathroom. Post. I ate steak for dinner. Post. Right. And soon as they bring y'all back up in court, well, we saw that you had steak for dinner, such and such, so we know you just went to the store. So what happened with this robbery? How y'all know that? Because you told everybody where you went. You posted everything you did. They ain't got to do no research on us. We give up all the research. I like long walks in the park. They got everything. They ain't got to do nothing. And those texts and those posts, they don't go nowhere. 20 years from now, your posts are still there. And then folks get angry on the internet and they post something. Then that person wind up dead. You just gave a reason why you are now suspect. Can't stand James. Well, you must have killed him then. Well, no, I ain't know. I ain't hate him like that. No, what? That ain't what your post said. Your post said you hated him. But no, that was then. Wait a minute now. What? I don't see another post that said y'all cool again. See, you got to be careful what you put in writing. They put it in writing. And no matter how many of these things they go and get. Kish went and bought about 5 of them on it. After I told him, I gave him the number. They sell these things on the internet for what, about 5 cents? Because people they don't know what's in it. So the people like, oh, I found an old book. They just put it on the internet. He went and got something. He a little better than mine. Mine all tore up and everything. But it's got the information in it that we need to accurately show what thus says Yahweh, and that people have tried to tamper with this word. But when Yahweh says study to show yourself approved, he has left a way for us to be able to find out all of those things. Well, that's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.